Welcome back, Founding Champions. It's Scott here with Founding Champions. Together we are the 5th Grand Alliance, where you are Founding Champion 2, and today we have a top 10 list of the top 10 best Chaos cards. So currently we are still in set 1. If you're watching this in the future, we are in set 1. We are currently in the first wave of destruction nerfs, but Chaos stays relatively the same. Currently the most popular list is Chaos Turbo Rotation list, and that's just sort of what's going on. So look no further than your screen to the right, and I will show you the different cards that are in our top 10s. So we're going to go ahead and start off with what is the best top 10. Fearless Choreographs. This is the number 10 on the list. Fearless Choreographs, a card very similar to what you would see in Order, trying to lock down a lane. It's not quite as good as, say, Hurricane Raptors. The highlighted champion cannot deploy units. That's the only thing this thing stops. It does 3 damage, similar to the Disruptive Liberator, but only in 2 corners. And that makes a huge difference in how fast Chaos can be. Just sort of front-loading that damage and guys rotating quicker. And you'll see that as a theme amongst cards in the deck. Next up, we've got number 9, the Gift of Change. So the Gift of Change, basically, it's an ability card that will remove one of your own guys and replace it with a demon card from your hand or your deck. What that does is it speeds up the deck by 1 turn. So instead of waiting for that card, that unit that's on your field to finally rotate out, you will be able to do that immediately by putting in a new unit on top of that card. So that card will just go away. So, you know, when a card rotates to its final corner, that's the last of its ability. You're not going to get any more out of that card usually. So we have to then wait for it to rotate out. Rotating out takes that whole turn. So that turn where you're waiting for it to rotate out, it's on its last corner. Don't worry about it. Gift of Change. Pop it, get a new card. And in Chaos, there's a lot of last stand effects. So by removing your guy, it will trigger those last stand effects. And you will see some of those last stand effects in this top 10's list. Next up, for number 8, we have Blood Hunt. Just an outstanding all-around removal card. Can we have a top 10's list without the removal card for each faction? Maybe, maybe not. Blood Hunt. Remove a highlighted spell or unit and gain 1 health. Just really good. And for a deck type that wants to deal lots of damage very quickly, gaining that 1 health is sort of strange. You see in Destruction it deals 1 damage, but in Chaos it gains 1 health. There are some champions that do rotate if you gain health, so there's that little added benefit. Now go ahead and move on to number 7. Gorslick Skull Reaper. A card that I don't think you were thinking was going to be on this list. But you're going to see the synergy that this card has with other cards on the list. So that's the reason why this card's on the list, is basically its synergies. It does do that 4 damage, Ren damage. So it does get past the damage reduction effects and can deal those last points of damage. But be wary, the last stand effect is not Ren damage. It's just 2 normal damage. So when this card does 1 damage, it will then rotate to no, rotate to 3 damage, but if you have a Bloodthirster in play, it will actually do 4 damage. So that's 5 damage, that's your average damage. And if he gets removed on that last corner, it will then do 2 damage plus 1 damage from the Bloodthirster because it is on its last corner. So you do get 8 damage total if you're doing the math right now. If you're doing the math, that does 8 damage, and that's better than the average damage of 5. And that's how Chaos is able to do an entire life points worth of damage with just 7 cards. Because Chaos does fit that rigid at least 5 damage or 5 average damage per card very, very strictly. Next up, we have the Insatiable Blood Reaver. Now this card is what goes with or synergizes with Gorslick Skull Reaper. Basically, this guy will remove a highlighted unit. It's a highlighted enemy unit. A lot of people would think this is a bad ability. Killing your own guys is normally pretty bad. Well, until you can time it right. And 3 corners, 2 corners, your guys are not 4-corner cards. They're rotating pretty quick. So as an Endless player, remove a highlighted unit, deal damage right here, and then gain 2 health. So you do 3 damage and then gain 2 health. That's a 5-point swing, which is average. Pretty good, but it's on 2 corners, which is above average. I would say the average corners on unit cards are 3 corners, because there's a lot of good 3 and 4 corner cards to balance out with the 2 corner cards. Next up, we're going to continue that synergy with the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury. Increase the damage done from highlighted units on their last corner by 1. This is against your opponent, so it won't hurt yourself for certain cards that deal damage to yourself on their last corner. Basically, you use all 3 of these cards in concert with each other, and you see those amazing synergistic effects. Next up, we have Archaon, and if you look to the left part of your screen, somebody is painting Archaon. That is not me. That is not my Archaon. I think you would have seen my Archaon by now, but this artist here is doing an outstanding job, and I will link the artist if you want to see more of his work later. So back to Archaon. Archaon deals a significant amount of damage in a short period of time. I guess that's not the best way to explain Archaon, because he himself is not dealing the damage. It's just that he's rotating so fast to get those blessings, and you will see those blessings. Play a guy, that guy kills a guy, and it might not be on this list, but there's a lot of units that kill other units. But what is on this list is, guess what? Insatiable Blood Reaver. So if you're not playing Bloodthirster, you could be instead playing Archaon, and that will remove a unit. Now, that Insatiable Blood Reaver is not going to activate both of these at the same time, but you can see the synergy. However, this card will go with, let's see, Gift of Change and Blood Hunt. So Gift of Change needs to be used by a wizard, and that best wizard happens to be Archaon. It gains you 3 health, I guess 1 for each head of Archaon, and it rotates quickly because unit, kill a guy. That first guy you played will probably deal that damage, and then all you got to do is play a demon. Any old demon will do. And every time you kill a highlighted enemy, you draw a card. If you kill a highlighted enemy spell, you'll be able to get 1 spell from your discard pile to your hand, if you are playing spells. So that's why he's on this list. Surprisingly not number 1, but half the list play him, half the list don't play him. So fitting he'd be somewhere in the middle of the list. Next up, Unrivaled Battlelust. Unrivaled Battlelust, just one of the cards that makes turbo rotation so good in this meta currently. It only deals 1 damage to yourself, so I guess a total of 3 damage if it, lasts the entire life cycle. But you're doing an additional 3 damage on all of your cards. All your cards that are rotating, all of your burn, abilities, any new card you play that has damage in its first rotation, they will all deal so much damage, so much extra damage. Unrivaled Battlelust does a lot more damage than most blessings. It really does depend on what you got in play, but if you have good stuff in play, this will do more damage than all other blessings. Next up, we have Total Carnage. You remember how good it is to do 3 extra damage? Well, imagine doing that all the time to every card, but only in that lane. 15 or less health, everything in that lane is going to do an extra 3 damage. You basically use all of your damage ability cards immediately into that lane. Oh boy, you're going to deal so much damage. That's why Chaos Turbo Rotation is so good. Next up, we've got Volkart Acolyte. Now, this is not actually on the list. This is just a honorable mention. It's an honorable mention because a lot of people don't play this card. Sometimes you see it, but most of the time you don't. It's because Destruction is so good, and they rarely ever play a wizard. A lot of other decks also don't play wizards, and that would leave this guy to just do 4 damage amongst 4 corners. Not so good. But as more people are playing wizards, this card is going to see some serious play. And when you do a pitch battle, you would normally play with a sideboard. Can't really do that yet in the app, but in pitch battles you have a sideboard. This would be a staple on every Chaos player's sideboard, because if you ever get paired up against somebody that's using, let's see, wizard cards, you would almost just win the game because you would completely turn off that lane and deal damage. So Volkart Acolyte, outstanding, honorable mention, even though it sees almost no play. Next up, Bloodreaver Chieftain. You saw him when I first started the video. We all knew that this guy was going to be just the best card on this list. He is so good. He's in almost every Chaos list ever. Almost every single one. Whether you're casual or competitive, most people are playing the Bloodreaver Chieftain. He's just so good, and he turbo rotates like no one's business. That guy does damage. You know, if you're playing a 2 rotation card, like this guy, or Fearless Choreographs, he then goes away, and then you go ahead and play another guy. Or that guy comes into play, does damage, right? And say we're playing Fearless Choreographs, he does that damage, goes 2 damage to 1 damage. Now he's almost useless to us, even though he would stop our opponent from playing units for that next turn. But then you play something like Gift of Change, play another dude immediately. Alright, next turn, this is your 3rd turn, play an ability, boom. And then you still have another action to play cards. So, I mean, and also having Heroic Deck. This Heroic Deck is so synergistic with Total Carnage, basically being able to do 4 damage every turn, and Unrivaled Battle Lust, doing that 4, 3, and then 3. So you don't need to draw cards, you just simply, you know, deal damage. And think about it, if each card doesn't average a 5 damage, think about it, that card had to be drawn with an action. So you're spending 2 actions on 1 card to deal that 5 damage. And then you can weigh that against 1 action, 1 heroic action, to deal 1 damage, and then deal an additional 3 damage. So deal 4 damage. So 1 action, no cards, 4 damage. Think about it. Really, real good. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us any additional health. I guess that's what's balancing this card, if you can even call that balance. And it only costs 3, so you can easily have 2 of these for 6 total cost of your 20, and you had 14 left to play with. So you can play an Archaon in your list, you can play, Bloodthirster in your list, so you're not really limited to only playing certain of them. You play 2 Bloodreaver Chieftains, and basically you play the big powerhouse cards like Archaon or Bloodthirster. Guys, this is the top 10. Tell me what you would put in, take out, substitute in this list, or any other honorable mentions. And also, comment on how you like this Archaon being painted. How awesome that is. Now, there are more videos. He has like a 12-part video. I think this is number 7. So, even though he's speed painting, you can see the progress he's making on this. And it's just outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And guys, I do want to thank you for watching. Life is too short to be trolling, and I hope you have an outstanding, amazing day. Thanks for watching.